Hi, folks. We are here with Ronni Le Tekro, and we're going to talk about his solo efforts, his new project with Leadfoot, and welcome him to the Masters Radio community of musicians. Thank you for joining us, Ronni.
Thank you for letting me in.
We appreciate that. So, we're a community of music's masters like you who had their first hits 20 years ago or more. Because these artists like you have lived through the big changes in how music has mattered in society. I always ask the artists that I can speak to what they believe are the challenges that young musicians who might want to be where you are now are facing and how you think they might overcome them.
Oh, that's a good question. I actually think about it every day. And I'm like grateful that I was young when there was great albums coming out every week, performed by human beings, not machines, right? So there are so many factors, but I think that there's a paradigm shift now because it's like the disco and that shit entered our lives in the late 70s, and pretty much since then that shit has been mm, mm, mm. Do you know, and you get uh, alienated, or what you call it. It's like you feel really weird when you listen to it. There's no human touch to it. So I think today's modern pop music is too sterile, and I think there will be a paradigm where, and you can kind of see it in Europe, you can see it in fashion, not with the 20-25-year-old kids, but with the 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. They're starting to wear clothes with an identity. They have started listening to Led Zeppelin and all that stuff we listen to try to find some other identity. And I think out of that, there will be new great bands. And we saw it a couple of years ago with Greta Van Fleet. God, did the planet need that band, right?
Yes. And they got such grief over it. Everybody said, oh, there's another Led Zeppelin clone. I'm like, yes, why not? Right? You know?
No problem, no problem. But to me, it's not a Led Zeppelin clone at all. It's just, it could have been any band in the 70s, right? And it's bands like that, they save rock, right? When they're young and do shit like that, they save rock. And I think other young people that see that their success, they will get inspired. And hey, rock and roll is here to stay.
Clearly is. You're living proof, right? He was doing this now for decades. So I was listening to Little Rosie from your upcoming record, and my wife came in and interrupted me and asked, "Who is that?" She never does that.
Okay.
But she really likes Leadfoot's voice. And are you finding that as you do work with a lot of musicians, as you diverge into varied genres, does do you see that you're dragging your fans from, say, TNT into those genres, or are you seeing an entirely new audience?
I think I lose fans maybe because Little Rosie was like to start with my song, but I had Norwegian lyrics, and Leadfoot rewrote the lyrics into a murder ballad. It was called Lille Rose, which is Little Rosie in Norwegian, right? Okay. So I don't know. I don't think I gain necessarily fans in the heavy metal world, but I show the hard rock world that you can still experiment and go further in many ways, and that there are no limits. And I'm willing to sacrifice my career doing that, right?
I mean, I really don't think you're sacrificing it. I think you add so much to the music. I was listening to that ballad style of Sister. I mean, how old is that? That's probably like around the 40s, that crooning sort of style.
Yeah,
and yet
right.
There you are with your guitar coming in as only you can do. And I think it adds a tremendous amount to the music. And I believe the one thing we can say to you. Oh, sure. They're sophisticated. They've been exposed to much more than I think we were when we were their age.
Yeah, right.
And, oh, okay. I can attach myself to that for at least
Yes.
long enough to hear this great guitar player and this great different style from what anything I'm used to. As you said at the beginning of the call, it's very human, right? To
I
integrate
agree.
things that we learn. Yeah. Yeah. So,
So I think it's a paradigm where we're going to see a change in our lives, luckily, that there are going to be more acts and more popular music being played for real by real humans. So I think that's very likely to see the next years, because all that that shit, it's got to die sooner or later.
mhm. Yeah, it's dance music. It's useful for what it does, but to be
Yeah,
expressive, it's just
it's like a soundtrack to bad sex, right?
yeah. That's right. That's right. Well, I was looking. I mean, you've got an album, the Leadfoot album, coming out in another week. Looks like
Mm.
we're like almost exactly a year from the day of Bigfoot TV's release, and I noticed
Mm.
you recorded that during the pandemic.
Mm.
And I know a lot of artists had to really completely change how they do what they do. I myself did some collaborative composing with people all around the world for
Okay,
some music, and I noticed
interesting.
a number of people, yeah, have kind of done the same thing. What did you learn during the pandemic about writing and recording that you're going to take with you, even though we're now past the pandemic?
Uh, I discovered that I could sit down and go deeper into maybe the composition part of it. At the same time, it was a weird period, so it was a period filled with the dystopic feelings, right? So, which also shine through the material. I went pretty dark lyrically, and I think it was interesting. I didn't mind watching 100 Netflix series and writing music. Uh, the only thing I think it was economically harder for everyone, and we're still seeing the effects of that internationally.
Of course, yeah, it has gotten much harder, but it was hard anyway. If you couldn't tour, I mean, the albums.
Yeah, and then you get a war in Europe. What's next? UFOs. The
Yeah,
UFOs. That's it. So
although that might unify us, right? You know,
I think at one point now they got to show up.
yeah, yeah, for no other reason to steer us back on course. Say, hey,
Yeah,
you guys are messing up.
exactly. A little smack over the face, and
That's right.
uh, they don't come with those silly nuclear bombs. We got something that's so much bigger. They're
Mhm.
gonna say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Indeed. Indeed. So I really have been enjoying Lava Lamp, and it does. I mean, it has sort of a little bit of old school style. It's got a lot of very modern production effects, and it has a really nice sound. I think I've decided that "Hurtful Game" is one of my favorite songs from you now.
I
Not just
agree. I
TNT.
agree.
Yeah, I just, and I loved that sound, that, high sound. But the solo at the end, and of course, Leadfoot is not the singer that Tony was in TNT, but
Yeah,
it's his voice works. As I said, my wife walked in and said, "Who is that?" She really
that's
wanted
cool.
to
That's
know.
great. I'm gonna tell him
Yeah,
that
please
she's.
do. Yeah, she likes that sort of sound. She's a huge Keb Mo fan.
Yeah, right.
He really likes that sort of low sound. But that guitar solo at the very end, that really soaring little bit of it, that thought that's got a lot of TNT in it, and I thought that had a great
Thanks.
sound. Now I have to ask, because some of the guys, I'm in a band with some guitar players, and they're going to say, how does it feel playing with those quarter tone guitars? And did you use that in any of these works?
I use it very seldom, but usually I just use my Fender six string, the same old guitar with the same effects. I got an overdrive, an echo, old echo, whammy, first generation, and a chorus. That's pretty much. I like to work with a limited amount of effects and try to create the stuff with the fingers, if
Mhm.
you follow me.
I do follow, yeah, and it's very clean and very melodic. It's something that I've found common in your music is that you've got the speed, right? And, you know, you can shred with the best of them, and yet it's a nice melodic series of runs. It isn't just bang, 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 fast. You know, it's to show off how quick you can move your fingers down the fretboard. And I think that makes the music lasting to me.
Oh, thank you, sir. That warms my heart.
But you know, it really does. And to hear you play, I listened to the first record with Leadfoot, listened to, of course, your stuff in TNT, your solo record, and it's just there's this, it's diverse, and yet there's a clear character to it, and it says this is you, you know. And there's some artists that are like that, no matter what they do. Mark Knopfler, you know, is one. He's not he's I'll never be considered a metal guitar player, but he's put in
Definitely, he's got some signature. I agree.
yeah.
It's weird that you mention Mark Knopfler because I've been listening to him quite a bit the last
Oh, good.
3-4 years. Some of those solo albums, "Kill to Get Crimson," for instance. That's just an album that's been growing on me, and I think he might be one of the, or probably the one of the best old guitar players alive that's still touring and doing the shit now. Now that Jeff Beck is gone, and right,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah, and we're losing them right and left. Unfortunately, David Lindley, you know, from our country.
oh yeah.
Great musician. Yeah, so you know, so you be careful.
I saw him. I saw David Lindley a couple of times live too. Amazing guy. I saw him with this Swiss fucking harp player,
Yeah.
Andreas Wollneder.
Oh, Bolivar.
Right?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah. With a wow, that was a show.
Yeah, amazing shit. I mean, so he was really good at crossing with genres and working with different people, and yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, tell me about, well, you mentioned Netflix earlier during the pandemic, and I saw what you said about Bigfoot TV, about sort of a joke about the documentaries that Netflix. So I will confess, my wife and I watch those shows, and you're right, you learn nothing.
Yeah, and I watched them too, and I came to the conclusion it will. I need to see the treasure. I need to see Hitler's slippers now to get the full.
That's right. So are you planning a tour stop on Oak Island?
Oh yeah, Oak Island is the most perfect. But Oak Island, I think for some reason that there is something there. Because if you look at the Shakespeare, there's hidden quotes in the Shakespeare in his first release on page 46 or something, and it's more than proven that it leads to Oak Island. Those the whole mystery. So there's and why not? Why can't the biggest mystery on the planet be in America? Right? Does it always have to be in Rome or Egypt or something? Why can't it be on Oak Island, right?
That's right. Yeah, we don't really have anything that's 1,000 years old here. You know, it's just it'd be yeah. So
to be honest with you, maybe in the future, but once there's going to be more archaeologists, where people start digging and exploring American soil, I think you have to rewrite history with North America. It's so fucking old, so much older than. Oh yeah. You have to rewrite the whole story.
Oh yeah, we already know people were here a lot earlier than we thought. Yeah. So, but
of course, you came from Europe originally, or somewhere around there.
Scotland, in my case, yeah, Scotland, but yeah,
Scotland or somewhere in Northern Europe.
That's right. So, I mean, the people are going to be wondering what is the possibility of doing something with TNT or those guys again.
We are friends again, and we're doing a tour this summer starting June 2nd, I think, Sweden Rock Festival, which is, I mean, really fucking big. It's like 70,000 or something.
Wow.
So we're doing some shows in Europe, I think maybe 10.
Wonderful.
And we are working on new material. If we like it and love it, once it's done, we're gonna release it. If not, we're just gonna hold it.
Okay. Now, as part of that, do you do the tunes and then play them out live to see what the response is before deciding to put them on a record again?
We might do that. We used to do that in the 80s. Before each new album, we would bring a couple of new songs into the set before, touring the previous album. So I think that's I think that's a good test, an old-fashioned good whistle test.
Yeah, very good. So, and speaking of your fans, are you what when you are playing out there, what sort of age groups are you seeing? Are you seeing mostly people our age? Are you seeing
Uh,
people that are a lot younger?
in Europe, I have to say there are like so many generations of hard rockers now. So we have them from 15, the 20-year-old ones, 25, 30, etc. So I think like hard rock has never been bigger in Europe than now. So
It certainly seems that way. Bands like Within Temptation and stuff like that really are sort of like redefining classical European heavy metal. I remember the Scorpions and sort of that whole
yeah,
influence on it. Now, basically adding horns and a lot of Nordic mythology, and you have these fantastic bands with such huge sound. You know,
mm.
and
So
keyboards
something
have really come
I
into
think
it.
hard rock and heavy metal is alive in Europe. So and I think you will see a new wave in North America eventually too.
I think
Uh,
so too. Yeah, yeah, we're already seeing some of it with
yeah,
some of the artists that have been doing interviews with us and supplying music to us. Um,
yeah, right.
Good, very good. So we're
So some really
basically
good young bands from both continents. I think really that's going to keep the genre alive, and God bless them.
yeah. Is there anybody in particular you like? Well, you mentioned Mark Knopfler, he's old school, but anybody of the new emerging folks we should be paying attention to?
I would just say Greta Van Fleet, if they don't get into or fall into the trap of repeating themselves, or management telling them to go into a specific direction. If they can just bloom, I think. And other than that, I think I like some American pop. I think OK Go,
Mhm.
stuff like that. That's
Okay. Yeah.
and then there's hope for the planet. Guys like that are so stylistic and have such an incredible taste regarding everything, pretty much.
Good, good. Yeah, there is such a huge variety. That's the one upside. Of course, the downside
Uh,
is good music gets lost because there's so much of it that it's hard really to figure out.
the Flaming Lips, of course, they're big in Europe. I don't
Mhm.
know if they're big in America, but they're like really big, like underground phenomena.
They absolutely are. They're part of our community. Yeah, they we just did an interview with them not too long ago, not a live interview. This is only our second video interview we've done. Um,
Wow.
yeah, we're pleased that you're on board. Yeah, we did. We had Lawrence Gowan of Styx on a couple weeks ago, and yeah,
Wow.
talking about 50 years. Some of their music is 50 years old.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
and that's so weird you mentioned Styx, because just before I called you, Styx was on Spanish radio with "Babe, I'm leaving,
yeah,
I must be on my way."
yeah.
Na, 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 na. Oh, classic melodies. Uh,
It's a
and those
soundtrack to our
melodies,
lives, right?
yeah, and those melodies, they fall into the kind of category of "If You Leave Me Now." If you leave me now, those melodies are just so classic, and they come from the 20s, 30s American music. Do you know what I mean? Early American, pre-Second World War,
Mm-hmm. Folk
between two
blues,
world
folk
wars.
jazz. Yeah,
That's where, because I study a lot of that music and I buy a lot of 78 albums,
really.
American artists. releases from 1936, 29. Those bands, and you haven't heard about 5%, 95% of them you've never heard about.
Of course.
And
of
they're
course.
all fucking great, right?
Yeah. 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 You had to be really good to be in a band. Yeah.
Oh, man, in America in the 20s, 30s, you had to be a killer to do that stuff.
That's right. So what are you playing your 78s on? Do you have like a Wurlitzer jukebox or something?
No, I have one of those, wind up ones.
Oh, Victrola. Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So and I think I got like maybe 1,300, 1,378.
Wow, what a record collection! Yeah, I don't know if anybody was
Yeah.
selling
And
tape.
if I need a theme or to steal something, I just put on one of those, and nobody is ever going to catch my theft.
That's right.
And Paul McCartney did the same thing. Paul McCartney, that's been one of his methods too, right?
Yeah. If it weren't for the Beatles, America would never have heard their own black music in the 60s, right? Because the white people didn't listen to black music back then. It was not done. And now the Beatles and the
it was
Stones.
pretty fun.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, first God was about, and then the Beatles and John Lennon came, and then you have Jesus and all those prophets. So it's God, the Beatles, and then the other prophets. Then they can choose which prophet they want to put on top, not to intimidate anyone, right? But it's obvious that Beatles, they come straight from God.
Certainly, it seems their music does. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They really redefined the business and made it so that people like you would sit down and write an album.
Yeah.
And put that out there for people and go, oh yeah, this is important stuff. And some of it, a lot of it is timeless.
I'm a Beatles fan. Like fucking, I collect bootlegs and all type of stuff with the Beatles. So, yeah.
Good, very good. So now, how have you been? Well, McCartney mentioned my name, and McCartney and Ringo going what's left. But have you been able to follow what it is they've been doing with their tours and records late, since the Beatles, or is that sort of you just sort of?
Yeah, I saw Ringo some years ago live, and I've seen McCartney 2 times.
That's very good.
And I got a Christmas greeting from McCartney that I got on my wall with a pic and a greeting.
Oh, you're a Beatles fan.
And it says, "Dear Mr. Ronni Le Tekro, cheers, Paul McCartney." And I got that on my wall. That's the closest I got to. I never met any of them though, but that's the closest I can get to God.
So I think the more you play, the closer you're getting. It's there's no question that your playing is inspired. As I said, I was listening to it. I thought it's so many different places where you wouldn't think to hear that kind of a solo. You hear in. Some of the Leadfoot stuff has almost a Tom Petty Americana feel to it, which sort of makes sense where he's from.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, to have you in there in guitar is just wow! I wasn't expecting that, and it works. It works really well. A whammy bar dive or something like that in the middle of basically a bluesy song is just you don't hear it. It's really
yeah. Yep. I'm trying to push the limits now. I'm going to be 60 very in a few months. So I'm thinking I'm just allowed to do that now. There's nothing to lose or gain by just molding into the music and try to give it the real mojo.
That's it. Be true to yourself, and you're old enough now that you're collecting dues, not paying him anymore, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
very good.
Very simple.
I don't want to take up too much more time, but I had just one question. What's important we haven't discussed today? What should fans of Ronni Le Tekro know about you? What's important for your fans to hear? Because a lot of them are going to be watching this.
Uh, I think, first of all, I want to tell my fans that I really love them and appreciate them following my music. And I mean, I try to stay off Broadway. I don't communicate that much in the press at all compared to many other artists. I try to stay away from stigma and shit. And hey, if they love my tone and my personality and my lyrics and my music, come on, join the tribe. Ronni Le Tekro is here for you, ready to rock.
That's fantastic. What a great sentiment. So yeah, you can count on about 40 to 50 million people seeing this one. So yeah, it's
Wow,
good that we can share a moment with you.
that's
Yeah,
hardcore.
we have a good reach, and it's no surprise we're taking artists that are ear level, the masters of radio as we call them, and really
Wow,
providing a community that works for them, healthcare benefits, investment in financial services, and the like. And 60% of the money that artists raise goes right back to the artists, as opposed to 0.0006 of some of the other guys. So you know,
fantastic, really
yeah,
interesting. I'm gonna check that out. And
please
if I
do.
could have one last word, support Amnesty International. Amnesty is an organization that protects people that are in prison for the wrong reasons, for political reasons, etc.
Yeah, no, that's thank you for sharing that sentiment. So we have been chatting with Ronni Le Tekro of from Bigfoot TV's his album, his last solo album, if I have that right, and then Leadfoot. It's coming out March 24th, I believe, right?
Yes,
Yep.
that's right.
So I've listened to it. I hope you'll do the same. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. Bye bye from Spain and Europe. Okay.
Bye bye, sir. Take care.
Bye bye. Thank you.